This is the Body Wise Podcast. Thank you for joining Laura and Christina for another intimate exploration of collective wisdom.
Hello and welcome back to Body Wise Podcast. Hey Laura, how are you?
I'm good, Christy. How are you?
I'm good. We haven't hung out that much lately or seen each other, so this is cool.
Yeah, it's been crazy.
It has been crazy, and that's why we kind of went a month without episodes, because we were both really busy, both with personal things and work. And me doing my Better Together groups. Laura was teaching a menopause course, and we just decided it's better to take a break than add more to our plate.
Yeah, do the kind thing for ourselves, I think. Just prioritize on what was in front of us, and so we could still feel resourced and, recover and then move forward when we felt ready, which
Right.
it feels good to be back on here and kind of strategizing about what we want to offer for the new season.
Absolutely. Yeah. So we are going to launch on the 15th. This episode is the episode 1 of season 2 of Body Wise Podcast, which is really cool. And yeah, I'm very proud of us for taking our own advice. we talk so much about it on the show about how stress is the worst. But I know that it's not always easy to take your own advice, but I feel like we were good about that.
Yeah, definitely. It is not easy to take your own advice, as I've also been learning and reflecting. But I think that our topic moving into this next season is so critical, especially right now, not only in our own personal lives as we move forward, but also in this evolving world where women are really coming into their power, and we're seeing such powerful presence on social media and in the world, really. When we talk about women's sexual health and sexuality and just human rights, we're at this place finally that we can openly talk about it in a way that I think it's been generally acknowledged. Yes, women have been suppressed and repressed, and there needs to be a change, and there needs to be this evolution. And one of the things that we've been talking about, just because we work so much with so many women around their health, and specifically me around their hormonal health, is there is still this underground struggle going on for better healthcare access, for understanding, for really being understood and seen and acknowledged in terms of hormonal struggles, health struggles, challenges, to actually feel like that rising woman, empowered woman, whole woman that we can talk about. But we're not yet at the point where our life is facilitating that embodiment in any kind of flow. It's a real, in many cases, struggle to get there. And so we want to talk about, bring on people who can really help us bridge that gap between an ideal and an inspiration of what life can be, and then the real practicalities of how do you get there, and what do you need to know in order to get there. What do you need to really understand and integrate in your life so that we can really bridge all of those parts of ourselves, of who we are and what we want to be, what our best self is. How do we do that in a really practical, grounded, everyday way?
Right.
So I think about that.
Yeah, I'm excited about it too. I mean, we both have been working a lot with also women in a certain age range, right? So we're definitely doing a lot of perimenopause and postmenopausal women. And I think specifically that women in that phase of their life are disregarded by the doctors, and in general, just society's well, you're just getting older. So, feeling the way you feel, feeling tired and blah, and not yourself, just part of life. And we're no, that's not the answer. Yeah.
Exactly. Yeah. The kind of mid to late 30s, 40s, 50s, I think, and beyond. I mean, it's such a fascinating topic because, like you just said, we don't really talk about that. When we do think about sexual health and reproductive justice, and we're also thinking about maybe people in their younger reproductive years, what they call that, and what about after? What happens, let's say in our cases, we're both mothers. Okay, so after you've had your babies, what are your options there? And how does the healthcare system really look at you when you are not feeling well? And it's like, well, you don't need your uterus to make babies anymore. So if it's really bothering you, let's just cut it out. I mean, when we talk about how many hysterectomies are going around and how many women are just set, they're told, like, okay, if that's really a problem and we haven't been able to fix it with pills and whatnot, then let's just remove it. And is that always the best choice? And are there other options? And if you remove an organ, is that really going to take care of the root cause of your discomfort and your imbalance? Like, we're not at that place where we're really valuing a whole woman, a whole life, a quality of symptoms, a complexity to the female body that still medicine is catching up with, right? That medicine that's hyper specialized is not really looking at the whole picture. And I think that this beautiful phase of, you know, using your voice, knowing that you are the expert of your body and taking ownership of your life and having authorship over your life really needs to extend, not just in the feel good, let's manifest your ideal life space that I see a lot of. It has to kind of be transferred over into, well, what about your body? What about coming home to that body and feeling really good in there? Do you feel really good? Or are you just complacent with, well, I guess this is just the way it's going to be. And I guess this is what it is. You know, still struggling with pain and discomfort and the hormonal roller coaster that has just become this new normal for so many women, especially as we grow older.
Right. Right. And it's interesting. I know you mentioned like reproductive, you know, justice. And right now, obviously, as we know with what's going on in Texas, like it's such that like that is just proof that in 2021, in the year that we are in, we are still bottom of the totem pole, that people who, you know, men who have no business telling like women who don't really care about the health, the overall health of women and after a certain age, like really just like, it's not pro, you know, it's pro birth. It's just like, that's really putting that value in us in just the fact that we can reproduce, right? Or who can reproduce. Right. And it's like, well, we are so much more than just like baby makers, you know, like we held value even when we no longer are having children or are able to have children. We are still amazing and powerful and worthy. And even beyond that, I we haven't talked about it this much, but you know, it is Pride Month. You know, it's June. It's also my birthday month. It's Justin's birthday yesterday, but June's a good month all around. And a topic that Laura and I don't know that much about is the how do the trans community like and their hormone journey, like from a medical perspective, how that impacts aging, right? In terms of hormone health and throughout the years. So it'd be interesting to find experts in that to also have on the show to talk about, because again, talk about a community that has their health, you know, like literally their rights, their human rights and tied to their access to medical, you know, like anything is so prevalent. And again, another vulnerable part of our community that I don't know, like how would that happen? What would it be for a trans woman later in her later years, or a trans man, you know, in the 30s, 40s and 50s, and what that's like?
Right. So a trans man would be the person who could potentially will also experience menopause
Right.
at some point. You know, whether that menopause manifests or whether it goes undetected because of hormone treatments.
Right.
But there will still be a change. There will be a menopausal manifestation because menopause has some to do with your ovaries, but a lot to do with your brain, a lot to do with your metabolism,
Right.
a lot to do with your bone health. Like, it's a whole body transformation. So absolutely, for people who are choosing to journey through a specific hormone replacement therapy or a different kind of hormone therapy or no therapy at all, and their identities are very unique and maybe not necessarily supported in the medical community. And then how does someone like that gain real access and support if needed,
Right.
at a time where, you know, their body's going through a transition and things can come up? So yes, what kind of access do these people have? Because if cis women have such a difficult time getting the support that they need. We know the statistics for trans people are dismal in terms of
Right.
level of healthcare, quality of healthcare, and access to it.
Right.
So absolutely, I mean, within that world of healthcare, menopause related, hormone related healthcare for people who have ovaries or who cycle, then there's a broad spectrum of, accessibility
Right.
on so many levels. So yeah, I think that it would be so interesting. And another thing we want to talk about is how do different cultures around the world approach menopausal transitions? How do different cultures approach growing older for people who present as female in their cultures, who are honored in that way or dishonored, right? We know ours is definitely dishonored.
Dishonor.
So let's find the ones that are honored, and what is that based on, and what can we learn from that? And that would be really interesting. Sorry about I don't know if you can hear my schnauzer walking with her
The
little
nails.
nails.
Yeah, it's okay. Bruce usually barks in the middle of my videos. So I agree. I think that that's something, we talked about that a lot in terms of, even in our family, right? And seeing when our mom, as like she went through menopause and kind of aging and stepping into this like crone, more archetype and wise woman. And I feel that in it, again, it can be many different things. I think that you can still feel like young and sexy and vibrant and beautiful through menopause. It doesn't have to necessarily be that. There's different ways to honor that as well, right? It can be like she went full grandma mode. And we were like, cool, that's what you want to do. We're like, but you're still young. I mean, I still see her as young.
Yeah, woman, you're like in your 50s.
I know, exactly.
So young.
So young. I know, she's a trip. But then there's also the other, like honoring the other side of that you can be, sexual and amazing and vibrant, but that doesn't necessarily mean like, I know that, because it's the culture that we live in, then people think, well, I can't be like Jennifer Lopez, who's 50 and looks 20, like that's not necessarily the answer either. It's about just really being comfortable in your own skin. And I think that circles back to when you have the right care, and something that we've talked a lot about, and even with people that we've worked with, is the absence of access to proper hormone therapies that like they're not offered, they're not discussed. Again, there's just, and there's that notion that if you're in the holistic world, that's like, you don't want to go that route. You don't want to take hormones, where they can play a really complementary role.
Absolutely. Oh my gosh, yes. I mean, we both do a lot of research when it comes to alternative healing, where we're using natural supplements, the minerals or the herbs, and just an overall
Diet,
a way
like,
of supporting the body, food, medicine, exactly, like all those things. But the more I speak with women and have been doing this work, the more I really recognize often the need for a collaborative support, because women's sometimes situations are very complex, and you may need both alternative support and conventional treatments, and that could look like doing all the things to support your stress and immune system, and at the same time getting on hormonal therapy, which is like bioidentical hormone therapy that it's not necessarily one thing or the other, or a failure to require. When I say in this day and age, like our modern life, our modern world that we live in, and the way we have been living for the last many years, like just us, when we do talk about the levels of stress and we talk about our lifestyles, and we happen to be very privileged to have the education and the access to incredible food and incredible support systems. But even then, the idea that your body just may not be in a place where you can feel your best without additional support that may come in the form of some hormonal therapy later on in life. And that there's so much to say about understanding that, because we do have there's this big notion that, oh, that's super dangerous, high risk of cancer, you need to avoid that. And that's not true, and that comes from a misconstrued study in the 90s. So the more we talk about how well studied this has been and what the risks really are specifically to that individual based on their history, and what the benefits are I just, and not just that, it's not even just access to the therapy, it's how to use it as well. Because then you have a wide range of doctors that they have the tools, but they don't all know how to dispense it properly. You know, it does require care and ongoing monitoring and just the right dose and really working with it. It's subtle, it's nuanced. And finding the kind of physician that has that skill and honors those that quality, that's a whole other challenge. And yes, I think that when you're doing it alone, it can feel really overwhelming and it can feel easily defeating, which is why I think that programs like yours of Better Together, where you're just like tackling a challenge that's health related, that's generally really hard to do when you're on your own, feels so much better when you are connected to other women who are also going through the same process, similar process, even if they have different stories. You know, being able to feel like you're part of a network of women that are moving into this phase of their life, that want to know the information, that want to be empowered, that want to be able to do it, and also share your experiences and be like, yes, me too. Okay, but I said this and that was helpful, and then I tried this. That, like what we do, really, it's a sisterhood. It's what
Right.
we do. You know, you and I have such a different health profile, and yet we share in our, this is what I'm trying, this is what I'm doing, this is how I'm feeling, this is what's working, this is what's not working. And you know, just listening to each other, and even, oh, you know, this worked really well for me, why don't you try this? And just sharing that gentle wisdom is, it's like holding your hand along the way. It feels
Yeah,
really good.
absolutely. I mean, and so this past month, for those who don't know, Laura actually helped me with Better Together and was able to bring in that like more targeted hormone support, and really patient advocacy is really what was like, you know, in terms of this is the things to ask to your doctor, like these are the questions to ask, the labs to ask for, and you know, and I think that again, that's such a big piece, and you're really good at that. And so thank you. I know that people, the ladies really appreciated it, because sometimes
Oh,
it's
so
just not knowing what to ask for because we're not given the information. It's like they gatekeep it, you know, it's like the secret. I
yeah.
don't know, to like keep you kind of not knowing, but it is, I think, really important to have a team that listens. I think having people that listen is such a big key to that, and just not feeling like, you know, and I know we've had so many good episodes that touch upon this, like the one with Heather Cohen, you know, and she talked about her journey with vulvar cancer and how she, you know, your medical team works for you. And if they are not listening to you, fire them. To the episode with Daniela Del Valle, and she talks about how, you know, it is proven like women in, you know, women in matriarchal societies have better hormone health and age better and have like don't have painful periods, and fertility isn't that much of an issue. Like it's proven, because again, when we are fully nurtured, not just through our, you know, diet, but our lifestyle, which is really that big piece that's the hardest right
Yeah.
now.
And the truth is that the way our society views that process, that transformation, that step, our bodies, our rites of passage essentially directly impacts our health.
Oh,
I mean,
100%.
right, like yeah, there's actually a science on this. The societies where this is viewed as a, you know, coming into power and growing older, and that wise tradition of like respect for elders do better in cultures where elders are honored.
Right.
Elders fare worse in cultures where elders are dismissed.
Right. I mean, even like, so, you know, obviously we're Cuban, people know that, you know, and growing up,
Yes.
like in our culture, we don't do, and again, it's a very cultural thing. You can talk about this. And it's not saying that one way is wrong or right, but we don't do like nursing homes. We just, it's culturally, we don't like when your parents get old enough, they end up moving in with you. And my grandmother, my mom and her sisters took care of my grandmother, even though she had Alzheimer's. And, you know, there was the argument of would she do better in a home that has more structure in the day than living, you know, with all these moving parts. But there is that sense of, you know, like you keep your elders at home, like you take care of them because they took care of you. And I think in that regard, like I think about, you know, we were lucky. She was in her late 80s, and our other grandmother who passed away, you know, even more recently, was almost 90. And I think about till the end. I mean, she was thriving till the last 6 months when, you know, she had cystic fibrosis, right?
Fibrosis,
Yeah.
pulmonary fibrosis.
Yeah. And And there is something beautiful there. But of course, abuela lived in her, like with her garden, and like, you know, she had a very um
Zen.
zen life, fulfilling life in her
She
I mean,
did.
she was a major caretaker for like this huge family for most of her life, but even in her later age, she gardened every morning, and she like cooked, and she had her chickens and her garden. And we
Yeah.
always said that
Very
that garden was
connected
her
to the
fountain
earth.
of youth.
It was. It was. She was
Yeah.
so rooted and connected to the earth and the plants. And yeah, that was amazing. Just getting that sun on her skin, working hard into the ground, getting her hand. We knew like that was what was keeping her as vibrant as she was for so long. Definitely.
Absolutely. Yeah. So, but we definitely need to work, you know, I think the empowerment, like there is this awakening, like you mentioned earlier. And I think that not just for younger women to be prouder, and I think that the younger generation, they're coming into that, right? So they're like already coming into this, you know, fierceness. But then we have women who are right now in their 50s, 40s, 50s, and 60s. So you didn't grow up or come up in a society that honored. So it's almost harder because it's a change of behavior. It is an unlearning of what you've known your entire life. And I dare say that's harder. You know, that is really more of a challenge, but I think also so much more powerful in a way, right?
Yes, certainly. Definitely. And and I'm very excited about that because one of the things that I think, which I would love to just bring in more even into this space and with what we do, is so connected to feeling good in your body, right? In different ways, but like really feeling good in your body. And you have such a comprehension of like this, honestly, it's like the chemistry of food and minerals and vitamins and nutrients. And I mean, that just totally blows my mind. But having this relationship with the chemistry, the biology, the science of your body, that is something that I'm hoping will also break into this movement. And I don't
Mm.
see it there yet. So even though we can talk about menstrual cycles now, yes, like there's been huge period movements. The Academy Award went to one of the documentaries a couple years ago, and there's just been so much like books and presence and celebrities like Rupi Kaur with, you know, her bloodstained picture in bed a few years ago, and that was huge on social media. And I mean, there's period power is all over social media and art, and it's amazing. And then there's the level of like this, there's this beautiful art and awareness, but are we bringing that into the body? Like, are we
Mhm.
bringing that into real practical level in these people's lives that do menstruate, that are not just about like, okay, I'm not going to be ashamed of my cycle, but now I'm going to also listen to it and notice that the how I'm feeling and what that means, and let me think about my birth control options. Let me think about, you know, what this really means for my physiology now and long term for my health. Let me think about that and let me pay attention to that because it's connected to all of our whole body, every aspect of it.
Yeah.
What we eat, our relationships, where we live. I mean, really, or how we sleep, our libido. And that's the part that I think, you know, I don't want us to just put a band-aid on it, on like the body part, and just keep going and struggling
Right. Right.
and
Being
doing.
all up here, like in our head, and then not enough in our actual body. Like the
Yeah,
vessel that
not.
carries us, we need to listen to it too, not just all be cerebral all the time. Yeah.
Yes,
I
yes,
actually, so you
certainly.
mentioned birth control, and that's something that I know it's, you know, it's a controversial topic in the sense that, I mean, Laura and I, you know, like we're not really big into hormonal birth control because of the side effects. And, you know, Laura wrote a really good actually article for my website about like getting off birth control, like what you want to do, like when you've decided to get off hormonal birth control, and kind of supporting your body through that. And also the other methods. And I know Laura teaches the symptothermal method, right? That's what it's called. Yes.
I do.
Which has been actually, so I was doing a little, because I had a client through Dr. Campbell's practice who wanted to get off birth control because she realized how much it was impacting her health. And I was like, oh, let me give you some resources. So I linked your website. But sometimes people just, when they don't understand, they're like, well, is it as effective as birth control as condoms? And I found that there's this, I forgot the name of it, but there is like an app that comes with a thermometer. So it's like it's essentially an app that, and they, you know, they send you the kit. It's like the thermometer and the app to then put in the information, but it's
Mm-hmm.
FDA approved. It's like a
Yeah.
symptothermal like thing but it's FDA approved, and as like, you know, as a valid, which I think again, it just helps the greater talk about more mainstream, you know, get people into realizing that you can use this form of like non-invasive, non-hormonal, not IUD, like form of birth control, and it is as effective and it is recognized. And I think that that's huge because, again, I think it's really important that people to know, like my son is 8 years old. Jack is 8 years old. He's my only child. I have not been pregnant since I had him, and I don't use birth control, like hormonal birth control. Justin and I granted, I think he is going to get a vasectomy at some point because we know we don't want any more children, which hello, thank God, yes, but which is a whole other thing because for men it's not invasive and reversible. But anyway, right. And like, as you mentioned in the great article you wrote from my website, that men are fertile all the time, 24/7, 365.
That's right.
How often are women fertile?
Yeah, just a little window. Well, really, we only have a viable egg for a 24-hour window, but really in relationship, we're only fertile for about 5 or 6 days per cycle.
And yet the responsibility falls on us.
Right. So we've just been conditioned to think that, since we have to take a pill every day to prevent for birth control, then every day must mean that we're fertile, like just the same as men. Oh, we're fertile every day. So we comply with these gadgets and procedures and medications that are impacting our body all the time, when really our fertility is a very small window, just a few days per cycle.
Right.
That's insane.
Exactly.
Actually, women are fertile less of the time. Like we are most of the time we're infertile. Most of the time pregnancy is not possible.
Yeah.
So really it's about understanding your body, understanding your fertility. It's about body literacy. And I really go ahead and go back to that term of like reading your body, understanding your body, having learned how to interpret that language, and then to respond to your body, not to freak out and react to it or deny it or suppress it, but respond to it because you know what it's telling you. And when there's such a big difference between your body feeling like this total mystery, you don't understand what's going on, and then your body feeling like your ally, your home, your compass, the one that tells you, hey, this isn't feeling right. And there's a reason behind that. Let's not just steamroll past that. Let's just take a moment, because you're going to get that information and it can literally save your life.
Right. Absolutely. I mean, even things like, I remember when I started finally like tracking my cycle and understanding like the fact that stress could delay my period. And it's also the difference between like, well, is your period late, or if you miss a period, like, did you just not ovulate? Like things that happen where you understand how all these factors change. I remember I used to, when I first started changing my, getting to the whole health thing, and I was still having days of the month where I was really fatigued or, just more inflamed. And I would always blame myself, and I would just stress and scrutinize my diet and my choices. And then I realized that there was a pattern, and I would have never seen that pattern in relation to ovulation, and just like in the luteal phase, how I am more prone to inflammation. And actually, fun fact, which is again, with tracking things, with the continuous glucose meter that I've been using, I realized that my blood sugar regulation is significantly different follicular to luteal. Like the insulin resistance during my luteal phase, like my baseline blood sugar is higher through my luteal phase than follicular phase. Like things like that if you don't understand where you are, your cycle, even, like you would never, you just be like, what am I doing wrong? I'm gonna lower my carbs more. But I'm like, oh no, this is just that pattern where you start seeing those things. And it was life-changing for me. And also to the point where things are normal. And that's something that you really actually helped me realize, of like, women are cyclical. We are not static. If the day after ovulation, if you feel like you just need to lay in bed the first day of your period, like there's a reason for that. Your hormones dipped. Like that's normal. There's nothing wrong with you. Like that's okay. Take the day. And that was a big one because we tend to try to mimic that masculine energy, right? Well, the world wants us to, where we're just like, and go. But that's not organic to us, to our bodies, to the way we're built.
That's right. It's not. And we are also having to push back against a mindset in a society of that urgency culture, that productivity culture that says, well, you're not going to succeed if you honor your femaleness. Right. We are coming from a place where that is considered a disease. It is considered a medical problem, and I mean, we're talking about centuries of that concept that we are pushing against when we decide to honor our bodies and say, it's okay if I rest today. I'm going to do that. I'm going to take that time. And it doesn't mean that I'm lazy or selfish, that again, the punishing language. And I think the more I've integrated that cyclical aspect into my life, the more I feel connected to my environment, to the earth, to nature. And from there, I can draw enormous amounts of power. And really, if anyone is going to be doing it right and going to be my teacher, it is not a male dominated society. It is the earth. It is her seasons. It is the moon. It is like, yes, that essentially like the wisdom drawn from traditional societies that are more connected to the earth, that really honor their biosphere, that know how to be stewards of the earth instead of like ravaging the earth just to suck out all her resources. That difference in what is our culture, really, what is the history of our culture as human beings on this earth and how we approach her. And I read this beautiful book by it's Laura Owen, Her Blood is Gold, and she talks about there's this parallel between the way humanity treats the relationship between humanity and the earth and women's bodies. Is the earth to be pillaged for resources, to be used for a function that will serve the humans, or is it to be revered, respected, engaged with in this kind of like a fair exchange where there's honor and care, where there's this a healthy dependency, which we are, like, let's face that we are dependent on the earth,
Right.
And really respecting that. And that's the relationship that we've lost. We've lost that relationship to place, to earth, to resources. And therefore we have that same relationship with our bodies in many ways. Like, you're here to serve me, and I'm in a culture that wants something of me always, wants to take from me. Or when we talk even about violence that women face, the prejudice, the gender bias that we have grown up around, and then to say, actually, I'm going to listen to my cycle. I'm going to honor my menstrual cycle. Even the difficult moments, I'm going to value it. When I'm too tired and I do need to rest, I'm going to listen to that and say, the body is wise. Let me slow down. That is radical. That is a radical act of rebellion. Okay.
Absolutely.
And I'm all for it. Let's rebel.
Yeah, for sure. It's gonna, yeah. And we're going to talk more about that. We're going to have more experts on the show. Actually, one of the guests we have coming up for next month is Dr. Anna Kabeka, who is an OBGYN, and just really focuses on actually like not only hormone health for cycling women or people who cycle, but also menopause, like kind of thriving, through menopause and beyond. And and sexual health through menopause and beyond. She has we actually referenced one of her creams, which is like she called it's like a vulva juvenating like cream that she has, which I guess is really popular and works really well. But again, so we're gonna work on getting guests who can really bring insight to that conversation, but resources for you as well. So because knowledge is power, and as we know that's such a big part of it, like feeling empowered because you have the information, and especially information that you can then take and apply to your everyday life, to your medical care and beyond. So
yes.
Yeah.
Beautiful.
So that's the plan. That's the plan for season 2 of Body Wise podcast.
Can't wait.
Yeah. So we're really excited. If you have any suggestions, listeners out there, on topics you want us to cover, you can drop you can send us an email, or, comment on my Instagram, or email me or Laura, or even just like leave a review on the podcast, but with like suggestions for future topics. We are all ears. We do this for you guys and to give you what you need. So any feedback is welcome. And thanks for listening. Anything you want to add, Laurie?
No, just thank you so much. I'm looking forward to it. I think it's going to be a really fun season. So thanks, Kriti. So good to see you.
I know, you too. Okay, we'll talk soon, everyone. And stay tuned to Body Wise Podcast. Make sure to subscribe and send in those suggestions. We really appreciate them. Bye.